Andre finally watched Cobra Kai, so we're going to talk about it here on Midnight's Edge. I'm Tom Connors, and speaking of Andre, hello, Andre.
Greetings, Tom, and greetings, panel, and greetings, everyone listening.
Also with us, we have the voice of Midnight's Edge, Mr. Rob Gallo. How you doing?
Hello, everybody.
And joining us also is the resident script doctor. He has the cure for all your entertainment needs. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
And we're always glad to have you. And also with us, one of our toxic femmes, Miss Reina Creole. How you doing?
I am doing very well, Tom. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you as well. So we're going to talk some Cobra Kai. Before we get into the new season, just warning everybody, there will be spoilers in this conversation. I'm not sure exactly when they'll start, but if you haven't seen season 3 yet, you might want to come back later and watch this. But otherwise, we're going to get Andre's take on it because he had to get caught up with the first. I think you watched the first 2 seasons all over again, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Actually, I watched the first season all over again because I've seen the first season before, but I actually hadn't seen the second season.
So you refreshed yourself
right now.
Yeah, so you refreshed yourself, caught up, and then you watched the third season. So, again, let's go back a little bit. Let's start off with your kind of initial reactions to the first season and then the second season, and then we'll kind of just get into the discussion from there and eventually get to the third season.
Yeah, and of course, I'd love to hear what you all had to say as well, because I actually haven't heard any earlier roundtables or reactions, so I'm curious about what you all think as well. But to begin with, let's begin with feelings towards the Karate Kid in general, because to me, I was familiar with the Karate Kid. I saw the first movie and only the first one when I was a kid. And honestly, it meant nothing to me. I saw it, didn't make much impression, have no particular nostalgia for it, means very little. It's throwaway 80s movie to me. I know that's probably blasphemy to some, but that's the truth. That's how it is. With Cobra Kai, I was instantly intrigued the moment I saw the trailer. So I was like inclined to like it just from the get-go because it appeared to treat the source material, meaning the original movie, and later, as it turned out, the original movies, with respect, which I'm always a fan of, whether I'm a fan of that original movie or not. So yeah, I was intrigued for that. And I watched the first season, and then midway through the first season, when I watched it the first time, I actually had to stop and rewatch all 3 original movies. I kind of skipped the 4th one. And then I got a greater appreciation for the entire franchise after that. And with that, my excitement for Cobra Kai grew even more, as did my enjoyment of it. But really, what brought me to Cobra Kai was Cobra Kai itself. Cobra Kai and Johnny Lawrence, who is an awesome character. So yeah, that's what brought me into it. And I enjoyed the first season immensely. But so I don't do all the talking. I want to hear from you guys. What do you all think about the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, like very briefly, before we start digging into it season by season and theme by theme and all of that stuff? So Lorena, what are your thoughts on the Karate Kid? What did that mean to you? And how excited were you for Cobra Kai going in?
Well, I saw the Karate Kid. God, this is dating myself. I think my dad had like rented it on VHS for like a movie night, and I hadn't heard of it, didn't really care, but got sucked into the story. So the Karate Kid movie was one of those movies that was kind of like a big part of my pop culture childhood. You know, that theme of, you know, the bully, the rich kids at school, and all of that. So the second movie, I love the second movie. I have an affinity for the second movie because Mr. Miyagi's love interest looks like a dead ringer from my grandmother. So that was like crazy how like they looked. The third movie, I didn't really watch that one, but I did like the Karate Kid, and then, you know, didn't think about it for years. And then all of a sudden I started hearing about Cobra Kai and all this buzz about Cobra Kai. I'm just like, the Karate Kid was good, but come on, it wasn't that good, worth all this buzz going on. And then I started hearing from people, they were just like, no, it's not what you think. It's like they switched places and Johnny is now the good guy and Daniel is the jackass. I'm like, how the heck does that happen? So I watched the first episode for myself and was hooked. I couldn't believe how they got me to buy in so quickly, but having those characters kind of switch places from, protagonist and antagonist. I'm like, that's some genius writing. So I've got to see what happens. And I've been hooked ever since.
Awesome. Rob?
Or
Script. Well, let's go Script. Yeah, sorry. He's one of our guests.
Yeah. Well, Karate Kid has always just kind of come up throughout my life as a growing up, and it's always been a fun movie. I watched the first two films far more frequently than the third, because the third was a little, off otherwise. And then
all this hate on Karate Kid 3. Anyway, sorry.
Not really hate, but it's just like it's off, man. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like there's some great moments to it, but it's a little off. And then when I got into college for English and I took my elective in film for screenwriting and whatnot, Karate Kid was like one of the movies that would be coming up and discussed and analyzed like constantly. So then you kind of like end up falling in love with it because of all the cool things it does with relationships and character development and the ambiguity of who's really evil, who isn't, and all that type of stuff. And it was a great learning experience. And then, yeah, it just kind of was in the background for a bit until YouTube Red started launching. And the first thing that people were starting to talk about it was Cobra Kai. And this whole, like, they were just wondering, like, what's it going to be? This is going to be the tentpole show for YouTube Red that's going to make it compete with Netflix, which everybody in the industry is kind of rolling their eyes. Like, YouTube Red is not going to compete with Netflix. Nobody's going to want to use the service for that's essentially for free and then have to repay for it. But when it came to Cobra Kai, they did. It was all their other shows that they didn't want to pay for, and that's why Cobra Kai was moved over to Netflix. But when I saw that first episode, I was like, this is really clever. Like, I can believe the situation that Johnny Lawrence is in, which was like the first thing that they had to do and get right, is like to believe that, yeah, this guy is really down on his luck and just kind of meandering through life with no goal or purpose. And then the fact they gave him a goal through the Kid of Miguel, it's like, okay, I'm hooked. These guys know exactly what they're doing. They know how to craft a story. They know how to define their characters. And yeah, I just I started watching it like right away, and I thought it was a great show, and I've been following it since its debut.
And Rob can't stand it, so
yeah, I find it abhorrent. I find it completely completely unfit. No.
Are we kidding? It has karate in it.
Exactly. Does it have, Tom, it answers the one important question: does it have karate in it?
Absolutely.
There you go.
But yeah, Rob, your history with the Karate Kid.
I remember the movie being in theaters when I was a kid. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it about a year later on HBO, and it was just all the time on HBO. And it was just I don't know if it's the right word. It was captivating. It was riveting. It was just so engaging, and it was just because that's the whole thing. Well, I want to see myself on screen now. Like, well, no, but this is actually a situation you can sort of see yourself.
Well, it is you. It's a little Italian kid from the
yeah.
Coast.
Exactly, yeah. Except, I didn't have nearly as hot a girlfriend back then, So, but anyway, I digress. I love Elizabeth Shue. Anyway. But yeah, it is one of those things where you can actually, because it's familiar, it's relatable. Everyone's had a bully in their life. If you weren't bullied, you were the bully, and everyone wishes that they could have some way of getting back at them, of evening the score. And this is one of those things where it just relates to you on such a human level. And it's a story about karate that's not about killing. It's not about revenge. It's not about, some far off land that, that's you'll never go to. It's about everyday people and it's oh god, it just hits all the right notes. It really does.
It does, but it's even beyond like a revenge thing. It's also like just climbing your way out of being a victim of bullies to like kind of creating a mutual respect between the two. Because that's what, like, my favorite part of the film is the ending where Johnny grabs that trophy and hands it to Danny and says he's all right. It's like,
you're all right, kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like how they earn respect. Like, and it's also kind of a little allegory to boys, where two guys can like get into a fight and then have beers a half hour later as if nothing happened. It's just
there's a lot of friendship
psychology around it.
I've had growing up that started as fights.
Settle it all on the mat. They settle it all, and that's sort of like a rite of passage for a lot of young men in their adolescence. You know, you settle whatever beef you have, you settle it on the map. That's why, and you know, there's certain people who don't want to believe it. That's why sports are so important. It teaches you how to win, teaches you how to lose, teaches you how to have respect for someone, even if you don't like them personally. That's why, and it, you know, gives you mentor figures. It gives you it provides an outlet for your energy, discipline, and you know, the training and everything. That's exactly. It's one of the great. It does fall into the great pantheon of sports movies, like Rocky, like The Bad News Bears, like Bang the Drum Slowly, like those kind of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just not that it's not a sports movie, but that same allegory about just letting the boys fight it out. In the movie called Friday, like near the end, Ice Cube, he'd went and he'd gotten a gun, and his father said, no. He said, when I was growing up, we didn't need that. We just used our fists and settled it. And at the end, the fight that's going on, they're like, no, just let him go, let him fight it out and get it over with.
Exactly.
You know?
That, by the way, is a great movie. Love that movie.
I wish that. Go ahead, Rob.
I said, yeah, I remember about you settle it with these. And he holds up his fists.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rest in peace, Granddad.
Yeah. So at halftime, I don't know if I'd trust.
And rest in peace, Debo. Let's not forget.
Yeah,
I wonder if I trust half of his. Trust him nearly half as much as Mr. Miyagi. But how'd you feel about the sequels, Rob?
I liked Karate Kid 2. I don't remember a whole lot about the Karate Kid 3. Sort of blocked it out from my memory. The next Karate Kid, didn't see it. All right, 3's enough. That's it.
There's karate in it, though.
I know there's karate, but it's also
and Walton Goggins.
Yeah, also Hilary Swank, which you know, anytime I have a nice juicy steak and I need a toothpick, I reach for Hilary Swank.
And as for me, I saw them recently, like both of them. Like, I've never seen Karate Kid 2 or 3. I saw like the first one, and that's it as I was growing up. So yeah, it's been like in the last 2 years that I saw 2 and 3, and of them, I think that the second one is the best of the entire franchise. I would say that, of course, you can't have the second without the first, but I think like I enjoyed
other thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I enjoyed the second one in many ways more than the first, and the third one, I understand it now much better when I know that Martin Kov wasn't available for most of the shoot. That kind of like explains it a bit. But still, yeah, I appreciate that, but I thought it like it became like a little bit dumb. Like, seriously, Sensei Kreese, don't you have better things to do?
Like, 40 years later.
Yeah. And that's going to be part of some of the issues that I actually had with Cobra Kai that we'll get back to in due course. We can kind of like see where they started right there. So yeah, of the 3, I liked the third one the least, and I think it would have been probably better if Kreese had been there the whole time. Of course, Mike Barnes was a really good asset and contribution to it. And I was like thinking, that guy, he's not doing karate, he's doing taekwondo, which I know because I was doing taekwondo. That's kind of like the martial art that I grew up with, that I'm fairly proficient in. But yeah, that's neither here nor there.
I still say that's the one bully now that he hasn't faced in his life. One fear. Because let's face it, if it wasn't on the mat, Mikey would have killed him. But oh yeah, as far as the Karate Kid goes, I grew up with it, obviously, and I saw it first on video when I was a kid. And the second one, I remember seeing many times on video too as well. The third one, same thing. It was on, I think, Showtime. That one was on like constantly. And then yeah, I even saw that. I liked all three of the first ones, like you guys. You know, of course, the third one's not as good, but I have a bit more of appreciation for it than some people do. And I even don't hate the next Karate Kid. I don't like it per se. I mean, there's things in it I appreciate, and I know there's things that they can mine in it for Cobra Kai. So yeah, so like when Cobra Kai came around, I was following the whole idea of it from the beginning when I heard, you know, the first rumblings about it, because it was something I always kind of kept up with, and I was always a fan of the, you know, the videos on YouTube going back and forth on whether or not Johnny was really the bully or not, or Daniel was, and all that kind of stuff. And like Rob, I had caught a few of the jokes and How I Met Your Mother and a few other things. So I was always intrigued on, you know, what might be or what could have been if we picked up these characters years later. And, you know, lo and behold, we did. And like I said, I was there from the start, and cripes, you can go back and see our original reviews on After Dark, I think it was. But yeah, so then like the second season and the third season, I've been, you know, just totally eating it up, obviously. Anybody who knows me, so I don't have to say much about it. So yeah, I don't know what you wanted to hit on next then, Andre, but yeah.
Yeah, well, let's begin with season 1 for anyone who is joining and that has just caught up with it since it's now on Netflix. Like, not everyone saw it on YouTube Red. Or even went to the high seas for it. But now, when it's on Netflix, it's a whole different ball game. So what did you all think of the first season as a whole, which basically saw the focus shift from Johnny Lawrence, that was previously the villain, to now become the flawed hero. Like, really flawed hero, but still kind of the hero that we need in some sense. And we also got to see a little bit of how the Cobra Kai method absolutely can help some people, but you need to measure it a little bit, because otherwise the bullied can quickly become the bullied, which was something that I really appreciated with the Hawks arc across the 3 seasons. But sticking just with the first one, what do you think of the first season as a whole, Lorraine?
I really liked the first season. I first of all, I love how they set it up as Johnny's kind of like down and out in the valley. You know, it's like he's basically, he is like an alcoholic. Just how the show basically got you to sympathize and buy into the fact that now this guy is actually some kind of anti-hero. He's reluctant about starting up Cobra Kai. I call him like the reluctant anti-hero, but realizes that it's needed and he's going to need to put his twist on it in order to, you know, get some of these kids back into believing in themselves and, you know, not letting them be able to blame society for everything that's going wrong with them. And that was something that I hadn't heard hardly ever that much in entertainment of late. So that was good to see. And I kind of glommed onto that. And I like how they kept that theme up. And again, going to the theme of the bullied becoming the bully, just seeing you know, Daniel and what had happened to him, you know, in his life. I forget which scene it was, but I think Johnny looks up and there's this big, huge billboard of Daniel with the Lexus dealership. He's just looking kind of like, how did my life turn out this way? But overall, I really loved the season. I liked it so much. I immediately jumped into watching season 2 because I just had to figure out if they could keep up the same momentum in season 2 that they did with season 1.
Script, thoughts on season 1?
I thought season 1 was quite impressive. I love the character journey. I like the fact that Johnny is learning what responsibility is through that season, and we see that arc not just with how he takes care of Miguel and looks after him, but also when he reunites with his son and sees his son being taught by, you know, a rival, and understanding that, like the climax of that season, specifically the tournament where Hawk, you know, hurts Robbie, and Johnny is like, you know what? Yeah, there are limits. There are things that there's nothing honorable about that. And it's not even just that it's my kid. It's the fact that I don't teach that type of attitude, or maybe I do, and maybe I got to start reevaluating myself. And I like the fact that they made it a learning experience on both directions. It's not just a mentor teaching lessons to a kid. It's the kid also helping to teach lessons to his mentor about the world, about life, about how things are different, and what it is to be someone responsible. And it's a great journey. And I like the fact that it also shows how these kids who are bullied, once they start understanding the power that they have, they start losing sight of the responsibility that comes with that. And there's nothing more tragic than seeing Miguel, who finally gets a girl he likes in Sam, and then screwing that up because he decides to trying to be the cool guy by getting drunk and whatnot, and he ends up ruining that relationship. And now he either loses her completely, or he's trying to find a new way to get her back. And it's a cool journey, and I like how they explored it. And I was really captivated by that season.
Yeah, and also I like what you said about Johnny and Miguel helping each other, because that's really the heart of the series. It's not the LaRussos. They're there. It's Johnny and Miguel, and how the two of them fulfill each other and basically help fill the hole that both of them have in each other's lives, and help them become whole in a way, and help each other grow. That's the heart of the series that really make it click and work. And I would also say that Johnny Lawrence is the perfect hero for this day. Some of those lessons that he have, we could all use a little bit more Cobra Kai, with measure, but still really good lessons in there.
Yeah, I like the theme that it's about self-confidence. I mean, you have that great joke where you've got Eli, who is Hawk, who says, like, he's so insecure, he's so doubtful about himself to the point where doctors are possibly saying that he's on the spectrum, and Johnny doesn't know what that is. He's like, just get off it. And he just starts, you know, kind of making them break their shells, because that's the other part too. Like, there are kids throughout all generations, there are always kids who are really reserved, who make a big, thick shell or wall around themselves because they just don't have something in them to sort of break out and be a little bit more sociable or what have you, or there's like a driven by a fear or something that has occurred to them, that whatever it is. And sometimes people, just in a desperation just to try to reach out to them, are doing it in such an, like, walking on eggshells approach that's not actually helping the kid. But here's Johnny that doesn't care about the eggshells. He'll break everything he can if he can get through to a kid and, you know, try to teach him something that he finds of value. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, I actually kind of had a teacher like him in school, but Rob, what did you think about the first season?
First season, I keep saying that I watched it. I said it shouldn't be this good, but somehow it not only exceeded all of my expectations, but it completely transcended them, if that's the right word. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much, and it was just like, holy crap on a cracker, this is good, you know. Yeah. And like I told you, what did I always say about Cobra Kai, Tom?
This show has no right to be this good, or the other thing.
It has no right to be this good, and it shouldn't have been this good, and it could have very easily gone sideways at any moment. It really could have.
Yeah.
And they did. They found a way to make it work. It's incredible. I'm like, and I just sat there with my mouth agape. I'm like, I can't believe what I'm watching here. You know, because these kind of things usually don't turn out like this. And you think, like Script said, you think it's going to be a Script or Andre, whoever, whatever he says. I was only kind of half paying attention. Bad me. Well, you know, we've talked about this so many times. We've all pretty much said the same things. It's a great angle that Johnny is the main focus of this series, because Daniel goes off to bigger and better. He goes on successful. But what about the people who aren't as fortunate? What about the people who are the villains of the story? What about the people that are the obstacle that they overcome? You know, like I said, like this would be like if we saw what happened to Apollo Creed after Rocky Balboa beat him for the title. Well, Apollo Creed was very wealthy.
But
we did. Yeah, he was very wealthy, but still, he comes back to train Rocky Balboa. But at the same time, you don't get that take on a story like this very often. And it's oh god, it was great that they chose to do it this way.
Well, a better example is Creed, and that's kind of one of the things that helped get this show off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, one of the great ways to get back into that universe. And this series kind of used that, and that's what I loved about it. And like you said, Rob, even as a fan, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this. And the trailer kind of, gave you the idea, yeah, it's going to be a bit more humorous than you're used to in the Karate Kid universe. But when we still got going, it's obviously that it's still in the Karate Kid universe. And of course, that's where you get to set aside the idea that, right, cops are nothing but idiots in this universe when they do show up. And then half the time, that's why they don't call them. And instead of actually dealing with things verbally, a lot of times they karate it out. I get that. Once you looked past those things and get past the fact that it is basically like karate high, as you put it, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole idea of the show, and you can enjoy it for what it is, because it's just kind of like a pure soap in a way, the way the characters are interacting, the way it's calling back to the past, like many soap operas would, or long-running television shows would, like that. And it doesn't ignore anything, no matter what it is. It's the first season for me was damn near perfect television, like if not perfect television. I honestly, I have a hard time thinking of anything like that show as a revival or a pickup or anything like that has ever been that good, let alone just standard television. The idea, the way that they play with it. And like you guys said, yeah, sure, it does start off being more from Johnny's angle, but they do work Daniel back into the story to the point where I would say kind of near the end of the first season, or especially in the second season going forward, it's really a back and forth. Like it's 50-50 kind of thing.
Well, Tom, you actually make a good point about the pacing kind of being like a soap opera. Soap operas are known for being very meticulous about their storylines and making sure that their canon lines up. And if there are any callbacks or member berries, they're very meticulous about how that's implemented. And that's what I liked about here in Cobra Kai. It wasn't forced. They paid attention to the timelines, things that happened in the past. So even if you'd seen the Karate Kid movies, you weren't like, no, that didn't happen, or that's not how that happened. They were very good about that. But also, to get to another point that Rob was making, I honestly thought that this series was going to suck. I really did, because I couldn't believe, I'm like, you mean to tell me that they went back and somehow put this twist on this show when it's actually this good? I didn't think it was going to be that good at all. I went in with very, very, very low expectations and was pleasantly surprised. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm like, come on, the quality's got to drop off, right? And it didn't happen.
Right.
So
On the contrary, it went from strength to strength.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we get on the second season here, let's get caught up on the super chats real quick. We got didn't say anything, but we just got a donation from Anthony Monahan. Thank you so much, if I'm saying that right. Apologize if I butchered your name, but we did get some before this as well.
Yes, we got one from Captain Hare, who says, Andre doing bad kung fu on stream when? Yeah,
obviously
don't hold your breath.
So I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I haven't practiced that in many years though, but I was fairly good at it at one point in time.
I used to too, so I could once again good once as I once was, but I don't know how many times. I'd probably break something, and it wouldn't be on somebody else.
It would be hilarious if it was filmed, though. But yeah. And we also had Jeffrey Turner, who says for $5, I edited a scene of Karate Kid 4 based on the YouTube video Obi-Wan has PTSD. It's the next Karate Kid. Miyagi remembers Cobra Kai. It's on my Crane Kick channel. So yeah, go check out Jeffrey Turner. I can't bring it up on screen, but check out Jeffrey Turner's channel for that. Yeah. And the Fessman 93 said, I could see a chosen or a young Kreese skin off.
I think he means spin off.
Oh, spin off, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what a skin off would be.
You know what? I on that note, you know what I would have liked to see? I would have liked to see a young Kreese versus the remake Kreese in the 2010 movie. Seeing them go head against each other, that would have been something.
Well, too bad that's not a real movie anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, and M. Beck sent us a donation. No, actually, a super sticker of €10 with some balloon animal of some kind. So yeah, thanks for that. And with that, we're caught up.
Awesome. All right, so season 2 came along. YouTube Red had that. I think by that time changed its name to YouTube Premium.
Yep. I mean, they still use the Red moniker on their shows, but it was a premium thing afterwards. Yeah.
So yeah, let's get everybody's feelings on the second season. Where do we want to start, Andre?
Well, let's start with Lorena, and then I can go after her.
Season 2. Wow. With season 2, it's my brain automatically goes to the finale, because with all of the rising action that season, it blew my mind. It still throws me off when I see that, because the season 2 finale just brought together the perfect storm of so many elements, with Robbie, with what happened to Miguel. I did not think they were going to go there with him, with what happened with him. But the second season was actually my favorite. My brain's a little foggy because, like I said, I'm mostly concentrated on the season 2 finale. But I liked that they introduced Tori. She's nuts.
Completely.
Yeah, she's like a Kreese in making. Yeah.
Oh God, she is just crazy, and you can see it. It's just like with the dialogue, just with how she acts and how she is towards people, and just how she's between her and Sam and Miguel. That whole love triangle. Yeah, I ate that up. I thought that was some good stuff. With that, and just with the conflict again with Daniel and with Johnny, and just more, it just seems like the more you're sympathizing with Johnny, the more antagonistic Daniel gets, and that was just really cool.
Yeah, and as for me, there were things in it that I really liked, and things where it lost me a little bit. I'll say first what I liked the most, and that was, for one thing, obviously the continued arc of the characters, which was all good all around. And I really liked the way that it respected its source material by now suddenly bringing in more people from the original movies. And what really stood out to me were Johnny Lawrence's friends. You know, like the extras that were only there to get beat up by Miyagi. They brought them back, and one of them was, I forget the name of both the character and the actor. Sorry about that, but the one who would very soon no longer be with us due to the actor having cancer in real life. And then they did the same thing with the character, gave him the same condition, and they took him out for one last night out with the guys, kind of like what Cobra Kai was doing by giving the actor one final round as an actor, something that I don't think anyone else would have done in his position. And they were able to make that into what I thought was the best episode of the season. So that was fantastic. To me, that was the highlight. And then where it started losing me a little bit was it got a little bit soap opera-y. And there were like some inconveniences that just kind of like happened. Like it asked a little bit like too much. Like, okay, so here now comes Kreese and he's taken over. He worked out a deal with the landlord, so now he suddenly has taken over the lease, and then he somehow suddenly rules Cobra Kai while Johnny is kicked out. Okay, like how does that happen? Okay, so fine. So he's able to screw Johnny out of the lease. I don't think that would hold up in court at all, and neither would him suddenly taking over Cobra Kai. I mean, he probably had to like register. Yeah, here's like the thing though, because Kreese is the one who started Cobra Kai in the first place.
You're forgetting something that happened in part 3, Andre.
And that would be
Terry Silver bought every single Cobra Kai and the name in the country.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like Johnny Lawrence, he just went and he started Cobra Kai. Like, does he have the rights?
No, he didn't technically
do that. but again, they only had to do one sentence. If like Kreese had just told him, "Oh, by the way, I own Cobra Kai. You never got the license from me." So
I was waiting for that.
Something like that. That would have fixed everything. But as it is, I have to make that justification myself.
They did mention
because
Terry,
the series didn't do it for me.
They did mention him in the first season, though. When they were having the whole deal in the city council thing, and she asked him, "Who's this Terry Silver, and what does he have to do with Cobra Kai?" And he's like, "I have no idea."
Yeah, that was pretty cool, but still, that was a big ask. Just to ask the audience to go on with the fact that, oh, you worked out the deal with the landlord, now you rule Cobra Kai. Okay, is it that easy, or give up that easy? But of course, if they just had one extra line saying that, I own these things, like Terry gave it back to me, or something like that, that would have. Then I would have bought that instantly. But as it was, that was an ask that took me out of it a little bit. And then, of course, we have like massive drama towards the end. And we also basically see just how poisonous a snake Kreese really, really is, which really came to fruition in the 3rd season. But again, there was also like this thing here. How well had the Cobra Kai philosophy to its full extent worked out for him in his life? With his continued focus on war, he was literally a homeless beggar who'd spent years living in the streets almost, or in shelters.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what we know. We learn quickly that he's lied to Johnny about every last little thing, setting up, his quick turn. And that's what I loved about the 2nd season. Now, I didn't like the 2nd season as much as I did the 1st season, but one of the things, like all the highlights you did bring up, Andre, and it did bother me that he didn't bring that up yet, but I knew that was something that was going to come along eventually, and I think we're starting to see that come to fruition here in the next season, as far as Terry Silver's attachment and possibly even Mike Barnes' attachment, because if I remember right, the deal was that Mike got part of it too, whether he won or not, because if he won, he was going to get 50%. But anyhow, regardless, Terry bought it for Kreese. That was the whole thing. So he kind of gave it to him, is kind of my idea, my idea of what happened. But obviously his name's still attached to it. But no, like the 2nd season, the stuff with bringing back, Tommy and Bobby and Dutch wasn't there, but they had the rest of the guys there, and I like how they had their one last ride together, and that was like you said, the highlight of the season. It did get a little overboard near the end there with the fight, but it kind of came full circle when it left on the cliffhanger with what was going to happen to Miguel and everything. And yeah, I mean, if I gave the 1st season like a 10 out of 10, I'd give the 2nd like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for sure. Script Doctor, what about you?
I enjoyed the 2nd season, but I did have some reservations about it because it was copying this 1st season formula of beat structure and reset. Because in the 1st season, we had that cool potential moment where Danny and Johnny are probably going to be friends again, and then it gets ruined. And then in the 2nd season, you get that one more time, and it gets ruined because Sam gets drunk and hides out over at Johnny's place with Robbie, and basically Daniel just kind of really overreacts for it, and it just didn't feel honest, essentially. And it knocked them back to where they were at the start of the season again. And it basically just got me a little bit of doubt, saying like, oh, are they just going to do this continually? Like they're going to get them so close to being a friendship, and then, which is what we naturally assume they should be, at least by the end of the first season, and they're just going to keep us knocking us back every time. I was worried about that part, but I really liked how the second season was about how Cobra Kai was too big for Johnny to take care of. How he was getting that new student, that like Stingray, that guy who worked at the Home Depot or something.
Yeah.
And he's seeing like how Kreese's involvement is. He's there to sort of help him out, but at the same time, kind of showed Johnny that he's not ready for this to be a bigger thing. Like it was, the first season was easier for him to do because he had students that he could actually shape and mold into badass people, but now with Kreese involvement, he's pushing him further than he's ready to be. And I just liked that dynamic, and I liked how Kreese was playing him the entire time, and I thought that was really cool, and it just elevated the drama a little bit, and didn't ask too much of me to buy into it. And I like how it made fun of the education system a lot, where the fight breaks out and not a single teacher can do anything to stop it in the current era, where in the 80s or 90s, you'd have teachers basically grabbing kids, obviously like in a bear hug or something, and keeping them away from each other.
They had the soccer field incident as a great example in the first film. He just tears the kids apart, and he's like, get the hell out of here. We ain't got no room for that on this field, kind of thing.
Yep.
Those were the days. But again, that's what I need. And that's one thing that I really admire with Johnny Lawrence, that, he speaks some truths, and what he said, like, this is the style of fighting that, like, your pussy-ass generation or whatever he said absolutely needs. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Rob, what about you in season 2?
Season 2, I liked, actually picks up right where it leaves off, and it keeps it keeps chugging. I liked it just as much as the first season. Actually, I thought some places it got better, but I really don't have a whole lot of complaints about season 2. It pays off the moments you want to see, and it sets up some stuff for season 3 that they pay off later.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good place then to jump to season 3, because I was a little worried after season 2. I enjoyed it, but there was a few
Before we jump into season 3, let's do the super chats.
Sure.
Nelson Chiretta says, Tom, get off the spectrum already.
Okay.
Stargate 404 says, weekly model for season 4. I want to hear more about CK Cobra Kai, I guess.
I don't know if Netflix will go to a weekly model. It'd be nice, because it'd be nice to talk about it every week instead of just in clump sums. But yeah.
I agree completely. I hope that it'll be weekly, but I don't think it will be. And that's just because it's so difficult when they to review something properly when they put it out in bulk. And Stargate 404 also says, I had never watched Karate Kid before I heard of Cobra Kai. I loved it all, except for the fourth one. No offense, Tom. This Gen Zer is a newly minted fan.
Awesome. That's another one.
See, there you go. Yeah. Like, Cobra Kai is the way to do it, because just like I knew of the Karate Kid before, but Cobra Kai is what got me into it now. Like, I'm a far bigger fan of Cobra Kai than I am of the Karate Kid. So that only goes to show the power of respecting the legacy and doing it right. That's how you grow a fan base. Star Wars and Star Trek should take notes. And Captain Hare says season 4 should have William Sadler reprising his role from Die Hard 2. Naked Eye GNO. Wow. And no, I don't care. He died in that
movie. You can play Death and that guy at the same time. There you go.
They make a deal. You bring me back, and Death's like, okay, and I get
don't
to rock
overlook
out.
My karate chop. I do lots of practicing.
Roger Haynes,
naked practicing. Lots of naked practicing.
And Roger Haynes sent us a super sticker. So thanks for that. That's much appreciated. And then we have, let's see. Now we have Roger Haynes that says, yeah, Jim Belushi would have been on those kids with a baseball bat. In reference to what teachers would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd have beat the hell out of him.
And yeah.
I said sorry
and
afterwards.
With that, let's get into season 3. Reina, what did you think of season 3?
Season 3, well, I was anxious to see where they were going to go, because after the season 2 finale, it's like, how the heck are they going to top that? But with season 3, I liked it, but not as much as I liked 2. And I think my attention started to wane when Daniel went back to Japan. For me, I kind of felt like that wasn't necessary. As far as I was concerned, they had covered that already in Karate Kid 2, and it didn't make me really get any deeper insight into Daniel's character. It was cool to see Chosen. I really did like him and what they did with him. He wasn't the one-dimensional villain. That was nice to see, but I could have lived without that. Kreese, the flashbacks to basically how Kreese came to be, I did like that. I did like that going on to find out kind of like the pieces that made up who he is and why he is, the way that he is. So that was nice doing that as flashbacks to see what happened with him. Also, season 3, also the consequences and what Johnny and Daniel were talking about in the beginning. It's like what happened with these kids, a lot of the responsibility weighed on their shoulders with how this happened. And it was just like, we have to fix this. So I thought it was cool, them kind of working together to do that. And the finale, it was okay. It seems a little cliche at the end, but overall, season 3 was all right. I didn't like it as much as I did 2. It was still a good watch. Do not get me wrong. It was still a very good watch, but it kind of felt like a little bit of a letdown compared to season 2.
I gotta agree with Fezman. Quiet. What's wrong with you? Half of what you said is very wrong. At least in my opinion. We'll get to that. Andre, though, what was your take then on season 3?
Yeah, no, I see exactly what Lorena is saying. To me, season 3 was season 2 only more extreme in both good and in bad. The soap opera got really soap opera-y. And the good stuff got really much better. I also really, really enjoyed the flashbacks with Kreese. They were amazing. Also good that they got his son to play the younger version of himself, because he has
his son plays the bully, not his younger version, but yeah.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, he's the bully then. Okay, well, still they did a fairly good job in finding someone that has the features, because he has like relatively unique features, like him and Charlton Heston and not that many others that look like that in a sense. But anyway, I liked seeing those flashback things, and I think that like Kreese, he really sabotages himself as well, because he said like to Johnny Lawrence that we really need to change this whole generation of kids. That was what he said like in the last season, in season 2, which is something I can agree with. And then in this season, he's like, okay, now you're out, you're weak, you're out. I'm going to go and recruit the people that are bullies already, and I'm going to make a crack team, just like I was recruited into a crack team. but you're not going to change any generation that way. You're just going to create super bullies, and that's it. You're not going to reach out to the people that you need to change if you really want to change the generation. So he really sabotaged himself in that way. It was cool with Cobra, like the actual Cobra. The scenes with it, both like is taking it from the zoo and feeding the poor little mouse to it and everything. So that was great. I liked some of the coincidences, especially like the double date at the taco place. That was awesome. Like just that awkwardness between between the two of them. Like seriously, you here? How are we going to do this? That was pretty good. And then like the finale again, there it started to be a little bit like soap opera-y. And then also like this whole thing that, okay, you know what, let's do this competition that I'll leave if your students beat mine in the tournament. And like, well, okay, you've already won. Why the hell do you have to accept this from him? You could have just said, you know what, no, get out right now. We're going to beat you to death. Instead of like giving him another chance. Again, that was like another ask that I thought was like an ask too many.
Because it's just like the original movie, that's why. And that's why I got to remind everybody.
I know.
The teen drama stuff, I know everybody gripes about it, but everybody forgets that this entire story was built on fucking teen drama.
Yeah.
Like the entire fucking idea of the story. And like I reminded you, Andre, because you said it would be really stupid if Allie was the one to bring Daniel and Johnny together. And I had to remind you, that's what they were fighting about in the first place. That's what this whole thing hinged on to begin with. It was those two fighting over her. So like you gotta, that's to me like one of the things that I just kind of like I expect it. It's part of the program, I guess. And I get it, it's melodramatic.
The execution was better than I feared it would be. They nailed it in the execution. That's something that could have gone south really, really badly, really fast. But luckily, they were able to salvage it in the execution, so I didn't mind how it was pulled off.
Yeah, and I want to thank Fezman for that super chat. And then we got one from the Physicality channel says, Grim Russian Karate review from 2015 is fully aligned with Cobra Kai vision of the characters and almost predicted the series debut in the end. I don't think that's one I saw yet, but I'll have to check that one out. Thanks a lot for letting me know about that one. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, that also reminds me, another really cool thing here was the reference to that YouTube video that started everything. When you have like this school meeting early on and you have a guy screaming, I heard that you were the real bully.
Oh yeah. So Script, what did you think of season 3?
I enjoyed it. You could tell that there were some budget issues there because like the one thing that threw me off is they're in the car looking for Bobby, and you can tell that they're on a set. Where in the first 2 seasons when they were in the car, there were cameras mounted on the car. That kind of threw me off. But outside of that, I enjoyed the story. I like the fact that they forced Danny and Johnny to finally work together and kind of push through their own rivalry and realize that they're more alike than different. And I loved how they used Allie to bring them together for that. I wasn't. I'd had different. I would say the contrivance to get Danny to Japan. I mean, I would say it's a little bit of a contrivance, even because we kind of didn't get that rivalry guy in the second season for the car dealership part, and I was kind of I was having a little bit of difficulty understanding how LaRusso's auto business is suffering because he was like teaching karate on the side. I understand like he's a leadership, but his wife's a pretty competent person. They seem to have a huge staff there, so I didn't understand how him being away really negatively impacted his business. I thought he would have better delegation. I guess not, but yeah, I was
actually. I think it was. I don't think it was just that. But for instance, he said that he blew like half of the business's marketing budget on like that karate event that got upstaged anyway. So stuff like that. That he actually spent like company resources on this side project.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So that was like a big thing. and then the other things, yeah, like the wife, if anything, seemed more competent at running the business than him.
Yeah. Well, and we see more of that in season 3, like to where, you know, the whole business side of things with her. And I love how his wife gets a little bit more to do in season 3, speaking of. But
I really enjoyed that too. It was nice to see her actually a bit more engaged and trying to do the mom and wife thing, which is come in and sort everything out, and then realizing that it's that her husband and her kids are actually right in this. It's actually
she's like the audience all this time. And, you know, that's what I was kind of trying to say before, joking way, was like, yeah, there's a lot of asks this series has. And that moment when she's like, yeah, I know it sounds crazy when everybody else says it. That's the audience's moment to laugh along with the show and realize that, yes, this is not reality. This is the Karate Kid universe. And like I said, the cops are incompetent. Things are going to happen where normally you'd have a lot more, consequences or other things that it would happen. I get that. And I'm willing to look past that. And that's why I think I like this third season as much as the first season for various reasons, mainly for some of the things you disliked, Lorena.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they also broke their formula. They told their story in a different way, so that it didn't feel like it was repeating what we've already seen in regards to like the emotional status relationship between the characters. I liked how Miguel was able to actually finally meet and interact with Danny and learn a little bit more about himself and his Johnny and what's going on there. And Danny's kind of, I think the best lesson that we got to see out of Danny is learning that, yeah, people can change. Because in the first 2 seasons, he just constantly says, people don't change. And the counter argument to that is, well, Johnny Lawrence is changing right before our eyes. So we know that that's a wrong perspective from Danny. And now he's finally learning it through when he goes back to Japan and Okinawa, and he sees Chosen, and Chosen is playing a role against Danny to sort of break his preconceptions. And then at the end, he's like this really kind of disciplined, funny guy that's nowhere near the crazy evil person he was in the second film. And I like the fact that Danny was on his own arc to realize that, yeah, maybe I gotta be a little less stubborn and a little less judgmental when it comes to people based on past experiences. And I enjoyed that a lot.
I also thought that the Japan thing was great. It was really cool to see him back there. So I also enjoyed that, and especially the thing with Chosen. That was like one of the best things of the season. One of, not the, but one of. Really, really cool.
Well, the best part was the letter scene.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of like the best thing.
Yeah, that was really good.
What was that, Lorena?
Oh no, I was just agreeing about the
well, and that's one of the reasons why I like that bit quite a bit. But Rob, let's get your take real quick on season 3 before I get into my long spiel.
I loved it. It was much better than Cats.
I knew that's what you were going to fucking
again
say.
and again. No, it was good. Like I said, they paid off everything that I wanted to see. I didn't expect Chosen to come back. Honestly, I did not expect that. And I love the even though you don't see it, I love the character growth out of him. Is that he felt shame after their fight, and he was a different person, because it'd been so easy just to make him a dick again, And no, Chosen's actually a likable guy now. I'm like, he's 3-dimensional. He's a fully formed character, even though we don't get to see him very much. Bringing Daniel to Japan. Let me tell you, that device they use, actually, the letters, the last letter he wrote. Oh my God, that was just so. Oh, it was just so like heartbreakingly beautiful. It really was. That you got to hear some of Miyagi's last words again. And didn't you say this, Tom? Miyagi is actually still the main character.
Not so much the main character, but he's still very present as a character. Like, and then even and that was where I was getting off, like the letter, like, even though obviously he's gone and, these people are not the original writers, they're putting words in a character's mouth who, they never wrote for before. The way they did it, it sounded like Mr. Miyagi. Like, even though she's reading it, by the end of that letter, you hear Miyagi's voice.
I saw that in car commercial.
Yeah, you like it? That I saw that in a car commercial. You know, like, that whole, you know, like you hear me, and it did. It made my eyelids sweat. I admit it, as a man. It got me in the feels, and that was one of the reasons why I just adored that bit. But anyway, Rob, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, that's pretty much just everything. Like, you know, and like I said, the one character we wanted to see came back towards the end. You know, granted, I don't know what their involvement's going to be from here on out. Probably not a whole lot, but she's probably just going to be a voice in the background, like on Facebook or whatever. But like I said, it paid off. Yeah. Allie, yeah, it paid off everything we wanted to see, and a few things we didn't expect too. And then I'm like, see, now that's subverting expectations right there, you know?
Yeah, like, it went up way above and beyond my expectations. First, starting with the whole Okinawan bit, and you know, that was one of my issues with the series. Was it was great seeing Kumiko. That paid off very well. He got his night, you know, with her. One last night in the past. He got to hear from Mr. Miyagi through her, and then bringing in Chosen to teach the lessons that Miyagi never taught him because he wasn't ready was another great thing for us as fans to see, and how his character paid off, like you were saying, Rob.
You know what it did too? It humbled Daniel too.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's like, oh wait, I don't know anything. Maybe I'm not as wise as I thought. Maybe, you know. Because he wasn't ready. He didn't trust him. You know, maybe I wasn't ready back then. Maybe I'm still, you know, and he showed he still had more to learn.
Well, and he's still not quite ready. I'll get to that argument in a moment. But yeah, and then we also got Sato back without even really getting to have him there, because he is the what the town became. Because, you know, because Daniel's like, what the fuck, you know? But all the people are like, no, this is great. We have commerce, we have jobs, you know. Sato brought all this to us because we were, you know, dying, you know, and you know, so not only we get to hear about him through that, and then he also redeemed his nephew at the same time, we hear through Chozen, and then, you know, like I said, we get the Kumiko thing. But one of the things that really did kind of like, what the fuck? Okay, like, was the girl that he saved in the bell. I thought that was a little too convenient that she was the head of sales at the company that he went to talk to, and they said no already. So that seemed like an easy out for me. That one was kind of like, okay, wait a minute. Kind of like with you, Andre, in the end of the second season.
Yeah, exactly. That was another thing like that.
Yeah, but I forgave it. I overlooked it. I'm like, whatever. It's an easy out for that one, and it was a nice way to call back a character. But you were going to say, Andre, sorry.
And also, I can see why they did it, because it went in with that whole karma theme. That's
put
like
good
very
things out there, and they come back to you. Yeah, well, that's what. And also we not only did we get Kumiko, she, you know, got to talk about Yukie, who was obviously, you know, the long lost love of Miyagi and the whole reason he ran from in the first place. And I love the idea that they had a correspondence ever since he left. Like, that was another thing that brought her character into it as well. So I loved how the Okinawan scene was used to bring all these characters together in one way, that especially the three that have no, you know, can no longer speak, you know. You know, so that to me was just amazing. And even if that one little ancillary part was like kind of a come on. Either way, I overlooked that. But then how those lessons that Chosen taught him come into effect at the end there, like, that to me was like total Karate Kid. And that's the thing I think a lot of people overlook, and it's not a bad thing, but it shows to you how good the writing for the show is. Each and every one of these characters is basically having the same exact arc as one of the characters from the first movies. Like, Miguel is Daniel, right? Like, he's got a single mother. He's grown up in Reseda. He meets some old guy who teaches him karate. That's Daniel LaRusso. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and each one of the characters has a similar arc to one of the other characters from the other movies, whether it's Johnny or Kreese. And that's where I said Tori is very much like Kreese. He's got a sick mother. He had a sick mother that died and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with her, you know, and she's heading down the same path he did, you know, and you know, we see these kind of arcs over and over again in these characters. And they do it without it being like, oh, we're just going to throw a bigger, better Death Star in there. You know, that's what it doesn't feel like. And that's where I loved the end of this season, because it's okay, it's the lesson that Daniel was taught. That was always the, you know, the hook of the original films. All three of the original films was whatever it was Mr. Miyagi taught him, whether it was a crane kick, the drum technique, or the kata, all came in to play at the very last moment. Well, here again, Kreese is about to kill Johnny, and Daniel takes him down and uses the pressure points, and he's about to kill him. And then he gets stopped by his daughter and family. And then that's what sets up the whole, you know, thing for season 4. And again, like, I feel like there's so much set up here. There's so much they can do. And, you know, the calling of Terry Silver at the end is great. The flashbacks, the whole, and, you know, the way that they played with our expectations, not subverting them, but, you know, like Rob was talking about earlier, but, you know, like, you really get like, okay, like the whole thing with in the flashback. How many of us thought that Ponytail was Terry Silver till his head got blown off? Almost everybody I've talked to did. And then you're like, oh shit, it's the little Weasley guy. It's not him. You know, it's like, and then, cause he even says, Silvers, calm yourself, right after the guy gets shot, you know, and you're like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? And like that whole bit, like, I loved how everything kind of came together. Like Rob said, it was like, you know, it really came to like this perfect triangular thing. And then another thing was the alley thing, because I wish I'd went back, because I didn't know we kind of did this at the last minute, or I would have went back and got our bit from the original review where Andre says to me, when I say, you know, alley's going to be the key to all this, he goes, yeah, if that's the case, it's going to be really stupid. So I want to hear his take, because I feel like they did a great job with this. They built this thing up that he is this, or that Johnny has this image of Allie in his head still from high school, that she's this perfect prom queen that got away. And it even adds more to that in the beginning of the season when he, you know, does this really long Facebook message, and Miguel's like, you're not going to send that whole thing, are you? Like, he's like, yeah, why? Like, you can't send that, you know, like, and that whole thing of him, like, you know, the first things he says back to her, then the first meeting, and then him getting his night in the past, like Daniel did with Kumiko, you know, plays with Allie. But through that, he learns that she's not this perfect idol that he has had in his head this whole time. And then through that double date scene, Daniel realizes, you know, oh shit, this is what the fight's been about all this time. You're kidding me. I haven't even really thought about Allie in that way in how many years. So like you were saying, Andre, it wasn't so much that it was still about that. It was that they forgot. This thing has been going on so long and had gotten so deep that they had kind of forgotten what it was all about. And at the same time, Johnny had built Allie up in his mind like she was the one that always got away, when she really wasn't as perfect as and I mean, she's not a fuck up, but she flat out says, you know, I'm in the middle of divorce. You know, I'm raising kids on my own. I'm living with my mom. I'm, you know, all this kind of shit that, you know, kind of takes away this visage of her being this, like I said, perfect prom queen in his mind.
See, I didn't get that at all. I disagree with you completely there.
I
with
totally
your interpretation.
got that. I totally got that.
Yeah, but again, this is what you said back then, and that's what I said. Oh, if they go with what you say right there, that they realize, which she's not so perfect. Is this what we were fighting about? If they had done that, then I agree with myself.
Well, it kind of
would have been really lame and stupid. I disagree with you. That's not what they did. It's not that he saw, wait, have I been pining over her? She's not perfect. I thought she was perfect. She's not perfect. I can move on. No, that's not what happened. That's not my interpretation at all. As I said, I like the execution, and my interpretation is different than yours. What I got from it is quite simply this. Johnny Lawrence was stuck in the past, and the only thing that was basically going, like LaRusso or Daniel, he moved on from her long time ago. To her, yeah, she was special, but she was just, there were more special ones after that. Whereas for Johnny, she was the one that got away. She was not the one that got away for Daniel. He moved on with his life, whereas Johnny is stuck in the past. And he's not stuck in the past because she's perfect. He's stuck in the past because he's stuck, and it has nothing to do with her. The only thing that she did was to provide him with closure so that he could move on, not because he realized, oh, she's not perfect, but because he realized, You know what? She moved on. Everyone moved on. I can move on now. I have a bigger, better thing. I can move on. Just that. That's my interpretation of it. Script.
Well,
what's your take as a writer?
No, you're pretty much right on there, because the entire premise of the show is about Johnny moving on and out of his rut, and he's just getting a milestone of that with every season. And the second one, he was getting closer to that.
Yeah,
with his
but
romance with
one
Carmen.
thing there's two things that support my argument: the Facebook shit and the fact that he was going to basically go with her at the end of the night until he realized that he already had somebody at home, and like you said, he's ready to move on. That is part of it, yes. And that's why he's stuck in the past. Is big part of it was because of her. And Daniel, like I said, yeah,
I disagree completely. She's completely incidental to him being stuck. Completely incidental.
She was the key to everything, though.
No, she wasn't. She was the trigger. She was the triggering thing. She was the trigger, but she wasn't the key.
I would have to agree with Andre, just to throw my 3 or 5 cents in here. I just saw her as just a catalyst, something just to say, you know what, it's time for you to move on. The reason why is this: watching that whole scene of them in the restaurant, he's just fixated on her and she's talking about her life and all of this. I'm thinking, when is the cold water going to happen? And that's when she said, oh, and I'm going through a divorce. And it just seemed like his face.
That's what I'm talking about.
Kind of like fell. But what I'm saying is, I still think it would have worked even without her. She was just the catalyst to basically say, slap, you need to get out of the rut that you're in about being in the 80s. So I don't think it could have been Allie. It could have been anyone. I thought it was cool they brought back Elizabeth Shue, because I liked seeing that. But I don't think it was specifically her.
Well, no, I say it is, because at that moment when he's with her, he forgets all about Miguel's mother. It isn't until the end of the date where he faces the choice where he can ask Allie to come home with him. And she obviously makes that notion that she probably would be willing. And he says, but she reminds him that he does have somebody waiting for him at home already. And then he makes that choice. But again, I still feel like because before this, no matter what they were arguing about, it always came back to them getting back to arguing. When Daniel and he saw them there together, that triggered his reaction from when he saw them together in the first place. Remember?
Yeah, but here's the thing, that was only setting up that, like, the repeat of the moment, the jealousy that he felt there, which only goes to show it's about him, and she's completely incidental to it. I mean, they were already over in the first movie, and he was trying to patch it because he wasn't ready to move on from her even there. But again, that's about him. It's not about her. She's completely incidental.
But she symbolizes all that, is what I meant, though.
Yeah, she symbolizes, but where I disagree, and this is like what I, even when in our first thing when we talked about it, like what you said about, he sees.
And here, Anthony makes a good point here. Yeah, this is what I mean, because if that was the case, then it would have been Tommy or one of the other guys. Because how many times did Bobby fucking tell him, get out of the past?
Yeah, but he has to come to the realization himself. And she didn't tell him. But that's the moment that he got a kind of closure, that she was instrumental in him getting that closure, but it had nothing to do with her seeing. It wasn't that he had built her up as perfect. If only I could go with her, everything would be great. No, that's an excuse. Convenient excuse. So it had nothing to do with her being perfect or anything like that. It's a matter of him simply moving on. And the moment when she said that, oh, by the way, I'm going through a divorce, it's not that she was reduced and he said, oh wait, you're not perfect, why would I waste time on you? But rather, I can move on.
Well, here's the thing, that date night that they had together it was that pairing between Johnny and Allie, where they go out onto the Ferris wheel and all that stuff. That is what Johnny wanted at the very beginning of the first Karate Kid movie. He wanted to have a talk with her to resolve some issues, and he never got to do that. And that's not him kind of living in the past or idolizing Allie as the perfect girl or the one that really got away. It's just him saying, I just wanted that moment to talk, to actually get over this, and he never got that. And she showed it to him through that action, as opposed to where everybody else is telling him what to do it. He just wasn't registering it. But when she was there and they were able to show that information, that stuff that he needed, that's when he was able to go in that point, because he was already having doubts and reservations about meeting Allie, because he already, had that night with Carmen, and Carmen was who he had interested, and he had fantasies about her. So
yeah, but he was all worried about coming off all hoity-toity to her. Remember, because that's the whole
that's
thing.
Him going back to old habits. Yeah,
but that's the thing, and again, this is something that it seems like pretty much the chat is just in disagreement about as we are. So, but again, the last one I highlighted, the point was that I was originally getting to, still is sound though, is that she was the one who now has gotten them to realize they need to work together. That was my whole point to begin with.
Oh, she serves that function. Yeah,
she was the key to begin with from the start.
I think that Kreese served that function much more than her. The only thing that she did, she gave Johnny closure. And when he had closure and then Kreese came at the same time, then he was a mutual enemy. Remember what Kreese said? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's kind of what was going on there. So there, Johnny got closure. And now, with Kreese as the enemy, they can go into a reluctant truce. She had nothing to do with bringing them together at all. She gave him closure. Kreese did the rest. Script, your thoughts?
I would say Allie played a part in that, because she's basically the mediator between the two rivalry. Here's the thing. They both can sort of hate Kreese, and that's fair.
They have for the last season, yeah.
Because they have. But the thing is that it's just really two enemies from two different sides going after the same, basically having the same shared enemy. What brings them together is the realization that, they could be working together, because they should be fighting together against Kreese, as opposed to just, a three where Kreese is just fighting each one of them and then kind of dividing those two guys apart. So if Kreese is saying, oh, I've got Johnny in one corner and Daniel in the other, and they're both coming at me, as long as I keep them apart, I can take care of one of them at a time. But if they come together, then it's going to be a harder fight. But Allie ends up facilitating that coming together. It's just the motivations of the reasons behind it. I mean, I would say, there's a point of regret when it comes to Johnny and Allie, and that's what makes Allie useful for helping Johnny get his closure that's required.
There's one moment that does that, though, and I'm not to interrupt your script, but there's the thing, because if they were going to work together and they had that common ground against Kreese, it was going to be at that meeting, which they kind of did.
Yeah.
But the closure, the final thing was when she says to them, you two are more alike than you think or realize, whichever the words were she used. Yeah. And she pointed that out to them too. That was kind of the moment that I think they both realized, enough's enough. We need to work together on this thing. But then you're right, Andre, the thing with Kreese was bad enough too, but that moment is going to come into play more so, I feel like, going forward with them deciding how they're going to teach these kids.
Well, it also comes into the fact that Allie is the character that knows Daniel and Johnny the best from them at that age. And that's kind of the hookup. Now, Daniel kind of moved past that with regards to Allie.
Yeah.
And it's not about the love anymore. But really, she's just there to sort of remind the two guys that, you should be friends, not at odds with each other. You can't be friends, but you shouldn't be at odds with each other. And I'm like the only source between the two of you that knows you well enough to be able to be aware of that and know that you'll listen to me when I bring that up, because his wife can't do it. She doesn't know who Johnny is, and who else? What other character between Johnny and Danny that they each know that they could trust would be able to facilitate that? And I can't think of one, that because Allie was the linchpin between the two. That they were they were fighting over in that first film to a degree, even though Johnny got. I mean, there's that scene in the first Karate Kid where Johnny sees Allie hanging out with Danny at the karate match, and he just has that one reaction, I can't believe she's here. This hurts more than it should, type of thing.
Well, that's what I was saying. He was still harboring that. That's what he saw when he walked in. But we do need to get past this, because we do need to wrap up the conversation anyway. So, but I mean, this is again, I'd rather have conversations like this than the ones we normally do about this.
Yeah, this is a great one, because this is a good debate, because it's Allie does actually serve a function. It's not so much what is the connection to, is it really Johnny being hung up on her, or is it the fact that he doesn't understand why he's got this fascination with her? You could say he's been living in the past, which he is, but he's also regretful that he didn't get to finally have the closure with Allie, but he's not also looking at her, idolizing her as an elixir, like Helen of Troy or anything of that nature. He's just kind of he doesn't understand himself at this point. He just knows that he likes Allie. He wish he had that conversation with her. He finally gets it, and he realizes, okay, now that I have this conversation with her, I know where we are with each other. The person who I actually really care about is Carmen.
Bone her, dude. Whatever. Roger Haynes sends in a super chat, says, remember Miguel's mom said they ran away from his dad because he was a bad guy? I wonder if he'll come after them. I'm sure that's something that's going to play into latter seasons. I did want to get into some some of our predictions for season 4, but I don't know if we're really going to have the time because we're about to lose Lorena here soon and stuff like that. So we really should get through these super chats real quick, Andre.
Super chats. Also, like, how long do we have you for Lorena and script?
I got a few more minutes.
For like about 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. I'll get through the super chats quickly then.
Pertaining to what we were just talking about, though, Anthony brought up, script. That's why it had to be Allie, though, and
I'm
just
not
going
contending
off
that, though.
Kind of what I was saying, and then I can only go so far back, so then you're going to have to probably go back to the other ones. The earliest one
I got it here. M Beck says for €5, I wonder what the parents of the Cobra Kai kids are actually thinking. Are they blind? I was thinking that too, like that first episode when he's like saying that every single one of you're going to get punched in the face before you get home today. I wonder how well that would work.
Well, we have seen some of the parents react, but I think another thing about the
parent react though.
Yeah, and well, the other thing is I think that a whole thing about this thing is like the whole idea of absent parents is kind of a theme throughout the entire saga, for lack of a better word.
Good point, actually, yeah.
And I think that does play a lot of. Well, I mean, look at Tori's mom. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, is she's absent because she's sick. Miguel's got a single mother. She's obviously gone at work all the time. And that was the same thing with Daniel when he was a kid. And, it's the same thing with a lot of these other kids, it looks like, except for like Hawk, who has a very overly protective mother, but she kind of disappeared this season. Of course, I think, was she in one scene this season?
No, she wasn't in this season. She was in the second season.
But yeah, she was in the second season. Yeah. And then they had that flashback too. So I mean, they've showed the parents, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like I said, I feel like they just kind of go with that theme of absent parents, but it also kind of goes with, if you brought the cops in every single time, it would really slow the show down. And not only that, I mean, they do address the fact that they do get in trouble for these things, because Johnny has a record now. We didn't even talk about the fact that Robbie's in jail in season 3, and that is one of the few times where they've sent a character to jail, in my opinion, and it didn't ruin the show, like it did Weeds or My Name is Earl. Like, that's usually a dead stop for a show, is when you send one of the main characters to jail or prison.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit, he's in juvie.
It's juvie, but my point is, though,
no, your point's completely valid.
Yeah, like that's usually where like a show goes off the rails, but I felt like that actually added more to his character in this season and gave him more motivation to hate or be upset with Daniel and then his dad too in the long run. Even more so, even when his dad's trying to make the effort. There's a lot of stuff we didn't get into that's really cool about that too. So I mean, the parents are still there, but we mainly just get to see because Daniel and Johnny are parents. So we kind of see a lot of things from their point of view, I guess, is what I'm getting to.
Yeah. Moving on from there, the Churn says 3 took many jobs at safe. No, one more. 3 took many jabs at safe spaces and snowflakes. Yes, it did, and it was glorious. And Lycan Broadcasting Network says for $10, thank you so much, the rival dealer was using the negative PR because of the school fight to cut off the suppliers. You can have all the best people working for you, but no product equals no business. Very true. Yep. And Jeffrey Turner says, Allie is the modern Helen of Troy. She's irrelevant.
I don't know about that, but because like I said, it was a pretty good debate. Like a lot of people, because we did get this one before.
Yeah. And then Dark Gift Comics, you'll like this one, Tom. Dark Gift Comics Presents says, I agree with Tom. It needed to be Allie, otherwise Tom could have been the one.
Yeah, that's what we were saying before we gabbed that one. Like I was saying, like when they had the deal with Tommy and the other guys, and even Robbie or Bobby, I mean, sorry. It finally clicked with me this season that he probably named his kid after him. But anyway, Bobby is the one who's always telling him, you got to get your shit together because he's the not the priest or whatever.
He's a pastor, yeah.
Yeah, he's a pastor, but Johnny keeps calling him a priest. That was a joke.
And
I'm not a priest.
Yeah.
Not a priest.
And Captain Cisco says, forget Ali, Miguel. Forget Ali. Miguel's mom is hotter. I want to see Mike Barnes versus Johnny Lawrence in a bar fight.
You might see that. And that's why I said I wanted to get into some of our predictions, but we ain't going to probably have enough time for that now. But we'll have to cover that at another date. So,
Dark Gift Comics presents says script. That's why it had to be Ali, though. And Roger Haynes rounds out by saying, I remember Miguel's mom said they ran away from his dad because he was a bad guy. Wonder if he'll come after them.
Yeah, I brought that up too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he will do some.
Not only that, it may not even be that so much as it might cause a problem between Johnny and Miguel. Because what if the guy comes back and he's like, "Oh, I want to do better and I want to do this, that, and the other," and then Miguel's like, "Yeah, I want to get to know my dad," and Johnny's like, "Yeah, the guy's bad news," and it could even cause problems between him and Miguel's mom. It could be a very interesting event. There's some people who seem to think that Miguel's mom is either Terry Silver or Mike Barnes, but I don't think so.
That would be really freaky.
That's just too. Yeah, that's just too.
I mean, there's plenty guys in South America to escape from. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. There's too much of an opportunity to like I just said. Like that opens a whole season of story ideas for you right there, especially if they bring the Kreese story to a close this next season. You got to have other stuff to build off of. So there you go. Gerald Armstrong then chimes in with, they need to do a national or regional tournament. That's where Mike Barnes can be put in another dojo. Well, actually, he technically owns, I think, 30% of Cobra Kai, even though he lost. But he may be involved. I think they talked to him before because he had said something in the past. But Sean Kanan, the guy who plays him, I think we're going to be having an interview with him at some point. But I don't know if he'll be able to talk anything about Cobra Kai, though. So we'll have to see. I'm sure they'll have him under NDA if he is involved. So, because they are filming right now. So, and he did tell me he's busy. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. He's busy for until the end of the month. He said end of next month. So, Nook Su Kao says your impeachments are inconsequential to my power. Trump 2021. Okay, well, we don't get into politics here, but thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. And we hope you guys have had a good time listening to us talk Cobra Kai. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it was a great series, and it was great discussing with you all. It was great to have you here, Lorena. It was great to have you here, Script. And I also have to say it's fantastic to finally discuss something that's good.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels really good,
I mean, if only we could do this all the time.
Well, if you're fans of Cobra Kai there in the chat, just tweet them how much you like the show and make sure to let Netflix know so that hopefully they're able to continue it on and round it out in a satisfying ending and not cut it prematurely.
Yeah, I mean the producers or creators or whatever you want to call it have talked about how they have a 6-season plan, but they knew from the start that YouTube was not necessarily going to be a sure thing going forward. So they had originally had, I think, a 3rd or 4th season plan altogether, but if they had to expand, they knew what to do. So we'll have to see. Yeah, but yeah, I think this is how you do it right. This is, unlike Star Wars, Star Trek, and all the other franchises, you build upon the past while introducing the new characters, and you actually get involved with them. I mean, we didn't talk a lot about the new characters because we've kind of tight show here, but I mean, yeah, I enjoy most of the new characters. Some of them, I'm not such a fan of some of their acting. And of course, I do have some gripes with things here and there that we didn't get into. So, I'm not going to sit here and pretend the show's perfect, but it's as damn near as perfect as you can get for a sequel to a franchise that was pretty much dead for the last 20 years.
For anything that's been revived, this is as close to perfection as it gets.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the first things I generally say to people when talking about the show is, look, I understand Karate Kid is not Citizen Kane. It's not The Godfather. It's not, these, critically acclaimed things. First Karate Kid was fairly well received by critics. Second one, not so much, but was more well received by audiences. Then from there, it was all downhill. But when it comes to something like this, it's just like Rob says, it has no right to be this good. So, yeah. Rob, was there anything you had to add about this? Because you've been pretty quiet the last half hour.
I loved it. It was much better than Cats.
Not again.
See it again and again.
Not again.
And
Always.
With that, I would like to say thanks to our panel once again. Lorena, it's a pleasure that you could join us for this.
Oh, thank you. Glad I could make it. Love this show.
And likewise, Script, it's a pleasure to have had you here as well. Really appreciate your input, both as a fan and as a screenwriter. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you again. I mean, this is the best type of conversation to have on this platform, right?
Yeah. And everyone, be sure to check out both Lorena and Script's channels. I've put a link to both of them in the description. Where else can people find you, Lorena?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Sorry. You can, of course, you can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on minds.com, and you can also find me on Instagram as well, all under Reina Creole.
Awesome. And to take us away, why don't we have a little fun here? Here's Rob's interpretation of Cobra Kai. Or this would be Cobra Kai if there was no involvement with Karate Kid, right? That's what it is. So if this was not a Karate Kid show. All right.
It's what it would look like on the CW.
This is what it would look like on the CW. Here we go.
Coming to the CW, another series about teen romance that descends into ass-kicking action. Miguel and Sam share tender moments talking about their feelings. And when Robbie finds out, all hell breaks loose. The CW presents a new kind of teen drama that will kick you in the balls. Coming this fall, it's Kung Fu High.
There you go, guys. Even though we love it, we know it's kind of.
Have you seen that yet, Lorena?
Which one?
Kung Fu High thing.
Is that your first time seeing that?
First time she saw that. Yeah.
Okay, that's the first time I saw that. Yeah.
She's seen Ryan Johnson's Karate Kid, but not that one.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that one, Ryan Johnson's Karate Kid.
Those are both hysterical. I think I like the Kung Fu High one just slightly better.
No, I know. I got to redo the other one. So I'm not even going to bother showing that. So with that, I'm going to say thanks everybody for joining.